If you've ever been to a beach, you know that there's some weird stuff on there, and I'm not just talking about some of the people walking around. When you go to a beach, you know exactly what to expect, right? Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. That is until you encounter an alien, a robot, or a shark. Yeah, seriously, these stories are going to change your opinion about going to the beach this summer, okay. Here are the 10 weirdest things found on a beach. Number 10 are sea pickles. Some of the weirdest things to wash up on our shores are actually strange living creatures that science knows about. But that doesn't make them any less bizarre. This is the case with the mighty sea pickle. These gelatinous oblong-shaped structures kind of look like a pickle, hence their name. But they also resemble something out of science fiction like the Blob, with their strange translucent skin. Sea pickles, or pyrosomes to give them their real name, are actually tube-like colonies of microscopic creatures. Millions of them washed up on the Pacific coastline of the United States in 2017 and 2018. But the thing is, no one is exactly sure why. Wonder if they'd go well with a burger. No, that's gross. Just kidding, under no circumstances should you ever eat one of these. Don't ever go eat one and then go to the doctor, you'll almost die, and be like, Matt Santoro told me to eat one, I'm better pickle. Number 9 are balls of ice. The natural world throws up some pretty bizarre stuff once in a while, and some of that gets deposited on the shore. This is the case with huge ice spheres which were found along the northeastern coast of Lake Michigan. Thousands of these things lined the lake shore, some as heavy as 22 kilograms. Locals were scratching their heads about how such things could be produced by a lake, but NASA provided their own theory. They suggested that balls of ice were created by ice seeds. These tiny fragments of ice froze the water around them as the waves threw the fragments around. This resulted in perfect spheres of ice. However, what still remains a mystery is why in February in 2013, the balls of ice were so big that they usually don't reach that size. My theory is that giants were throwing snowballs at each other. NASA refuses to take my call. Number 8 are great white sharks. The great white shark is the most fearsome animal in the ocean. Surfers, divers, and fishermen tell stories of encountering them, but these stories all take place in the ocean. The weirdest place to find a great white is there on the shore. What's weirder still is when you find 3 of them all at once. Well, this actually happened on the coast of South Africa. These huge great white sharks lay dead on the shore. And it gets weirder still because the sharks had been attacked by something and were missing their livers. Something attacked a great white shark? What? That's right, some animal had specifically eaten the livers and then left the rest of the bodies intact, only for them to wash up on dry land. Now, some believe the animals were killed by orcas, while others think the livers were eaten by sea lions. Personally, I think it was Hannibal Lecter. All we need to find is an empty bottle of Chianti nearby, and the case is closed, Claddies. Number 7 is a robot hand. As we've seen already, the world's oceans, rivers, and lakes are filled with strange objects, but not all of them come from nature. Some of them are man-made, but that just makes them twice as bizarre. We are pretty weird creatures after all. This was the case with what washed up on the shores of the Great Killis Park Beach in Staten Island, New York. Passers-by found a piece of metal embedded in the ground. On closer inspection, it was a mechanical hand poking out from behind the other garbage on the shore. The hand was either from a prosthetic arm or it was from some sort of robotic appendage. Now all we need is those Star Wars Theory YouTube channels to make a video about it. Darth Vader's hand finally uncovered in Earth. That's a conspiracy theory I can get behind. Number 6 is a piano. There's nothing sadder than a musical instrument left unplayed. Oh wait, yes there is. How about one giant piano washed up on a beach? That's exactly what happened in New York on the East River of Manhattan Island in 2014. The piano was remarkably in one piece, and people flocked to be photographed either playing or sitting on it next to the New York skyline. Nobody knows exactly how it got there, and so far no one has come forward to claim it. Some thought it was an advertising stunt, but advertisement for what? Our pianos are made so well that you can throw them in a river, yeah. Well, one thing's for certain, the sight of an old grand piano sitting on a beach with New York behind it made for some excellent Instagram posts. But wait, my question is, if they found the piano, where's the pianist? Number 5 is an alien. If we expect to see aliens anywhere, it's in space. But one time, probably the most famous of all of them washed up on a beach in the UK. In 2012, the Coast Guard responded to an emergency call stating that a body had been discovered on the beach. Rushing to the scene, the Coast Guard found a bloated, wrinkled humanoid figure face down in the sand. Luckily, it was not a person or a real alien after all. It was actually a life-sized replica of E.T. the extraterrestrial. E.T. drowned? As it turns out, the giant figure had been handcrafted by an artist years previous, only for it to have been stolen along with some jewelry. The artist's family never thought that they'd see the figure again, but somehow it ended up on a beach. The family was delighted to be reunited with it, and were left to wonder what strange voyages E.T. had been on in the intervening years. Number 4 are Argh Lobsters. Lobsters are weird blobs which have been found countless times on shores of almost every coastal nation. These strange masses were once thought to be undiscovered creatures, but we now know that many of them are actually decomposing bodies of large marine animals such as whales and sharks. There are some lobsters which remain unexplained, but often they're identified as known species. Occasionally, some of them are the remains of rarely seen animals such as the colossal squid. It's thought that lobsters spend a lot of time on the ocean floor and then rise up in the ocean currents to be deposited on shore. While lobsters have mainly been explained, I'd still keep away from them on the beach. I've seen enough monster movies to know where this type of thing leads. Stay away. Number 3 is cocaine. In November of 2013, a Japanese man discovered something truly bizarre near Yokozuka City. Lying on the coast were 4 sealed backpacks. Upon opening the backpacks, he found 80 brick-shaped packages. Inside each was a white powder. But Matt, was it baby powder? Was it? Well, when he took the backpacks to the authorities, they confirmed that the brick packages were filled with cocaine. But not just some cocaine. Each package weighed a kilogram each. The cocaine had a street value of a staggering $48 million and turned out to be one of the biggest drug finds in Japanese history. No one knows how the backpacks ended up on the shore, but you can bet that there are some very unhappy drug lords out there. Or maybe they're the forgiving kind of drug lords, you know, that you always hear about in the news. Oh, no, sorry, that's Big Pharma. I always get them mixed up. It's a conspiracy. Number 2 are Doritos. Sometimes bizarre things turn up on the shore because a ship sank or, a cargo container fell into the ocean, spewing its contents into the deep. Often this can be harrowing for those living nearby, as pristine beaches become covered in unwanted trash. Of course, if you're a fan of potato chips, then this entry might seem more like a dream come true. On November 30th, 2006, a cargo container released thousands of bags of Doritos into the wild. They found their homes on the outer banks of North Carolina. This caused local wildlife to go on a Doritos binge, including local people who gathered up the sealed bags and presumably ate them with some dip? Unless they had something else freaky in mind to do with them, I don't know. Who knows? I'm just saying, some of y'all have some weird food fetishes. I'm not judging. And number 1 are Lego men. It's the stuff a Lego collector's dreams are made of, life-sized Lego. Between 2007 and 2015, several giant Lego figures appeared on a number of beaches as if washed up from the sea. These figures were made up of fiberglass and were 2 meters high. The first one appeared on a Dutch beach and had the words "No real than you are" printed on its torso. Since then, similar giant Lego figures have washed up in the UK, Japan, and the United States, and even the Danube River in Austria. Different theories about where the figures come from are abounding. Some believe it's the work of a Dutch guerrilla artist who has affectionately been named Ego Leonard. Others believe that the first Lego man was by a Dutch artist and the others were copycats. Personally, if you ask me, I think a giant child has lost his toys at sea. And if that's true, God help us.